Welcome to Artist Books Unshelved. Today's books engage directly with artistic predecessors and invite consideration of our social, political, and creative relationships with them now. Let's take a look at Transparency, Reflection, Light, Space, A Response by Leah Mackin and Memento Civitatem by Alice Maher and Jamie Murphy. As a teenager, Leah Mackin made and collected zines and spent a lot of time with photocopiers. Carrying her love of printing and multiples forward, she is now a visual artist and educator who combines art research and preservation with abstraction, multiples, and performance. Created at Women's Studio Workshop, Transparency, Reflection, Light, Space, A Response explores Mackin's interest in reflection, response, and recreation through publishing. The title page gives us an important clue. Now we're in a sea of vowels. My first inclination is to try to read the letters out loud. E, E, A, I, E, O, I. I like saying the vowels, but it doesn't seem to be giving me answers. I can make out paragraphs. Maybe this is from an existing text? It is. Someone is identifying the vowels that were previously removed. These photos have many layers of text, obscured and revealed. A hand inserts someone into the process, humanizing this book and its inscrutable text. I realize that Mackin is telling us two stories. She's giving us the vowels of a text, and the photographs show us how the vowels got here through light and transparency. Mackin brings the person and more. Based on the shadow, I suspect this is her, letting us know that she is the one filling in the vowels. We see her again in the corner of this photo of light and space. She is reflected, but just barely visible. More vowels and so many gaps. And now the colophon at the end of the book? But there's an interview that follows. The first time I read this book, it wasn't until here that I realized that there is, in fact, more book. This page size, which seemed small for the cover, now starts to make sense. Here are the consonants. Mackin has copied on translucent paper an interview with the artist Larry Bell. These reproductions come from an exhibition catalog titled Transparency, Reflection, Light, Space, for Artists. Bell was a key figure in the light space movement, which is known for marrying minimalism with the exploration of human perception and the cutting-edge materials of Southern California's aerospace industry. This 1971 exhibition is considered the formative introduction to the light space movement. In the catalog, the vowels were erased from Bell's responses. Mackin explained that she initially reacted to Bell's obfuscation as a brusque bravado. It felt defiant and inherently gendered. She noted that the art historical legacy of minimalism is dominated by masculine ego, and said that men would both strip space and take up space with large-scale installations. Mackin responded to Bell's abstraction of language by finding the missing vowels, which she gives their own space. She describes it as a sort of harmonic vocalization since vowels give shape and rounded out sound to the English language. Mackin is a persistent researcher, and her perspective on Bell gradually shifted. She eventually found an interview with him later in his career. He admitted to being evasive as a younger artist when speaking or writing about his work. Mackin realized that what she read as arrogance belied a vulnerability and uncertainty. Mackin's book considers the abstraction of language, Bell's gesture, and her own research process through imagery and material exploration. She, like Bell and the others in the light space movement 4 decades prior, is still exploring transparency, reflection, light, and space. Memento Civitatem is the first artist's book commissioned by the National Gallery of Ireland. This collaborative project brought together the Irish artists Alice Maher and Jamie Murphy. Alice Maher's work explores nature and culture, subversion and transformation, mythology and memory. Jamie Murphy runs the Salvage Press, publishing artists' books and broadsides that celebrate and critically examine Irish interests. Memento Civitatem explores contemporary relationships to culture, citizenship, imagination, and activism. It contains 21 oversized folios. Each begins with a single word. Inside, we meet a vigorous jumble of words and phrases, and an image card recalling the style and visual language of tarot cards. The figures, or categories, in Memento Civitatem engage with ideas of citizenship. The overlapping gray words suggest interconnected meanings and relationships to the figures. They encourage me to deeply consider the meaning and responsibilities of citizenship. The smaller red words offer a reverse reading, another reference to how tarot cards can be interpreted differently if presented with the image upside down. To develop Memento Civitatem, Maher and Murphy were invited to the National Gallery's Irish Art Library and Archive. They focused their research on artists and writers of the early 20th century who fought for Irish independence, including Grace Gifford, Sarah Cecilia Harrison, Aloysius O'Kelly, and William Orpin. They examined many primary sources, including a book from a glass and mosaic cooperative founded by Sarah Purser, another artist they were researching. A particular image struck Maher, who has an interest in mythic archetypal figures. The visual language recalled the Rider-Waite deck of tarot cards. It turned out that many artists and writers at that time were interested in esoteric movements, the occult, and alternative thought systems. Pamela Coleman Smith, the designer of the Rider-Waite deck, had published broadsheets alongside Jack B. Yates, another artist included in Maher and Murphy's research. These crossovers convinced them that they were on the right path with tarot-style iconography. Maher and Murphy explained that their research uncovered concerns shared by their artistic predecessors that continue to command our attention today. These issues include equality and suffrage, ecology and housing, beauty, war, and survival. Maher and Murphy also brought parallels forward through process and materiality. They intentionally tried to use methods and materials that would have been available to the early 20th century artists. For example, the words in this artist's book were printed with original wood types of the era. It is a meaningful embodiment of their connection to the through line of Irish political, social, and artistic history. Handling the book brings me into a process too. If this were a codex-style book with regular page turns, I might tire of the consistent, repetitive layout. But closing each folio, putting it away, and then taking out the next one allows for a little space in between. It's a subtle reset moment that lets these ideas around citizenship sink in. Memento Civitatem draws conceptual parallels between society, politics, and the imagination, from the past, through today, and into the future. Murphy explained to me that the Irish take their citizenship very seriously. Through this book, he and Maher protest very recent history as citizens reassert their rights to a more caring, open, and equal society. At the same time, he told me, it is also a tribute to the artists who fought to throw off colonialism in the past, as well as a reminder for the citizens of the future of the actions and beliefs that concern us today. Transparency, reflection, light, space, a response brings a feminist voice to a one-on-one conversation with an earlier American artist. Memento Civitatem is in dialogue with pivotal Irish artists of the early 20th century, representing their country and social and cultural values. Built on dedicated research and discovery, both of these books connect the concerns of artistic predecessors with those of artists working today and into the future.